Okay. Hogwarts Legacy discourse. If you are unawares, the Hogwarts Legacy game recently-ish released, and because of the ongoing anti-trans activism that J.K. Rowling does, pushing for anti-trans policies and rationalizing violence against trans people, etc., there was a call from a significant portion of the trans community to boycott the game. This generated quite a bit of discourse. Now, the reason I'm making this video is not to add to that discourse, but to comment on a pattern that I saw in it that I can't get out of my head, and I have to talk about this because it's been scratching at the back of my skull for a few weeks now. So, what are people who are opposed to this boycott saying? They're arguing multiple things. They're saying things like this boycott isn't effective, that people should be going after maybe some of her other revenue streams, like the Wizarding World at Universal. They're saying things like this whole discourse and the call for boycott is divisive. They're saying occasionally things like my own trans friends say that it's okay or are playing the game. And okay, so I want to draw a parallel here that I haven't, maybe somebody's talked about it already, but I haven't seen it. All of these arguments are variations of the things that people were saying at the height of the Black Lives Matter protests in 2020. Dig into them, abstract them out to what they're actually saying, and you will find versions of them from all critics of the Black Lives Matter protests of 2020. Going further, you will find versions of them in all of the critics of the civil rights protests in the 60s. The efficacy argument, first of all of these forms of disruption, whether it be a boycott or a protest or a riot, all of them are ineffective right up until the point that the culmination of action results in an effect. Right. Okay, so there is no singular action. There's no singular protest or boycott that instantly causes an effect to occur, that instantly fixes the problem that is that grievance is being expressed about. Okay? We need to understand this. Every protest in isolation is ineffective. It is the ongoing campaign of pressure and the solidarity with the cause which can create an effect. So lose that from your vocabulary. Stop criticizing people on the efficacy alone without understanding the broader context. This was a small ask in a campaign that is a very big problem, especially in like the US and the UK, where there are just rapid huge waterfalls of laws coming out against trans people. Okay? Is it going to take more than boycotting a game? Yes. It's going to take a lot of things. However, boycotting a game moves the discussion and gets people talking, gets people paying attention, and starts building those connections with people who are willing to do that small ask in order to join the larger asks later on. Okay? Like, this is how that kind of community building functions. If we can't get solidarity in something small, there's no way that we're going to get solidarity when it comes to actually standing against the police shield wall, you know? Now, divisiveness, right? Who's being divided exactly? Is it, I mean, again, if it's people that are unwilling to sign on to doing something small in solidarity with a movement that has a just cause at the heart of it, they're not on board with the movement itself. It is maybe filtering out some people who are performative in their care about a cause. It's maybe filtering out people who will pay lip service to it. And in fact, if we look to MLK's writing at the civil rights movement, we find that there's a similar phenomenon. He identifies that there are many people who will speak in private about, oh, segregation is bad, but they're not willing to shake the boat. And he identified that in calling for people to actually step up, not just pay lip service, well, that gets called divisive. Any time you are calling for action and not just lip service is inherently going to be divisive. Divisiveness in this context, not a bad thing. It's a necessary thing. And it is with hope that people will eventually start to lose their neutrality, indifference, whatever, as a movement grows. And they're willing to get off the fence and actually shift from rhetoric to action. But that requires taking the first steps first. Okay. And the last one, is a very common one, is like, well, my trans friends in my social circle say it's okay, or they're buying it, or whatever. Fair enough, I understand in isolation, but recognize that this is the same argument as getting an N-word pass. And you should interrogate yourself as to why you really want to do that. Why you want that validation in that way to do a thing, knowing that there is part of a marginalized community that has identified this person is affecting real harm and we should not support them. So abstract it again. Take it away from Harry Potter and any attachment that you may feel about it. If, say, Trump or DeSantis or someone like Ben Shapiro, right, put forward a video game and it got rave reviews, let's say it was excellently developed, whatever, I would not buy that game because those people who created it are ideologically my enemy. Now, I would not want to endorse products that they put forward. Are there some products that I have to buy or functionally have to in order to get by? Sure. I shop on Amazon sometimes. It's very inconvenient to function without Amazon, despite my loathing of Jeff Bezos. But nobody needs to play a game or consume a movie. Actually, Ben Shapiro is a great example. He did put forward several movies. They were terrible. But even if they were good, cinematography, I would not give $11 to watch it. I would not want to endorse that creator. You may feel differently. I'm just drawing that comparison there. And okay, so sorry, I got a little bit sidetracked with that bit, but the other thing about my trans friends say I can do this is not every marginalized group, not every group is going to be a monolith. Like, they just aren't. Again, 2020, at the Black Lives Matter protests, there were Black people who were critical of the protests, of the movement. That doesn't mean that it is a bad movement or a bad cause. People have different opinions on things. And there's another facet of this, which is the role of someone who is not part of a marginalized community. One of the things that I saw in this discourse was a lot of people who were coming in and weighing in and trying to dictate which side of the trans community was correct. And I have seen this before as well. This is extremely insidious behavior, and I'm not sure if people quite recognize what that is, but it's basically, it's injecting all of the structures of like white patriarchy, and of all of the stuff that we are critical of, and it is inserting itself directly into this marginalized community and saying, I, as a white cis het person, am going to tell you the right way for you to advocate for your own rights. It's disgusting. And it's also, again, something that we saw during the BLM protests. It's something that we saw in the civil rights. It's a pattern that repeats, where a lot of people don't know that their role is to listen, to pay attention, and to act in as ethical a manner as they are able to with the information they have. So obviously, in the course of this video, I am supportive of the case for that boycott. However, that does not mean that those trans people who are not on board with the boycott are bad people somehow, or are betraying the trans community. They're trying to exist like anyone else in a society that debates their very existence. And this is a recurring pattern where people outside of a marginalized community hyperfixate on individuals within that marginalized community that maybe are acting in way we create and reinforce division within a marginalized community sometime, when that is not our role. We've already got plenty of that coming from all of the state media, all of the state propaganda, all of the education that we get. We've got all of that division already coming in from every system of power. We don't need to be doing it ourselves. Whether you're on board with like the boycott or not, just do your part and keep it at that. Keep it quiet. Stand in solidarity with those who you're supporting. But don't go into this trying to tear down members of that same community that are not of the same alignment as you are. Leave it to the trans community to course correct their own. We have plenty of transphobic bigots within the cis het community that us on the outside need to take care of first before we ever say anything about any of that inside the trans community, you know? And this goes to like anti-blackness as well. There's an overemphasis on figures like Candace Owens or Ben Carson and stuff. People love to lambast those figures, but it really is better to leave Black people to handle that. We need to clean up our own house. Speaking about white people, we are able to get closer to systems of racial hierarchy than non-white people are. We're able to be heard by other white people better than black people are. So contributing to tearing down like a black person or a trans person or even a gay person like a Milo Yiannopoulos, it's not helping those communities. It's not helping the trans community, the black community, the gay community to go after members in their community, even if they are off the rails. It is not helping. It just amplifies attitudes against those communities. Does that make sense? As I'm saying, like, I don't know. I've had all of these thoughts going around in my skull, and I haven't been making videos, so I suppose at the end of this, my concluding statement is spend more energy on efforts that are solidarity rather than sowing divisions within these critical groups, because they're already fighting against the powers of the state. They don't need to be fighting against alleged allies. I'm going to be linking an article, There's No Such Thing as a White Ally. It's one that I've covered on the channel before. It always bears reading again. And in it, there's a key couple paragraphs the author spends discussing how white people really don't need to be chiming in when some black person is acting goofy. Black people will take care of their own. We have our own messes to clean up, and we need to do all hands on deck to fix it, because, yeah, the racism and bigotry in, like, the white cishet community is way greater than it is in any of these marginalized groups. And that should be where our energy is focused if we are going to be critical of people. It's not to say blindly agree with every person in every marginalized community, but it does mean spend a whole lot less time criticizing them and dragging them, because they typically are acting in that manner in order to survive in a system propped up by people that look like me. And it won't be until we deconstruct that, then these people will start letting go of that and stop emulating that in order to survive. Anyway, okay, so that was the video topic. On a broader note, I'm gonna be trying to, I know I said it in the Discord, but I'm gonna be trying to just turn the camera on and start talking again. I'm gonna be trying to do it once a week. I can't promise, but it's a habit that I need to get back into badly, because it's been too long since my last video, and there are a lot of things that I want to cover, an increasing list of things that I need to cover or want to talk about, and all of this is kind of in parallel to the larger video essay project that I'm working on, which is moving forward. I've gotten in touch with the Oviedo Historical Society and am going to be moving forward with interviewing them. I've got some interview equipment coming in, which I'm also hoping to record some of the stories and personal accounts and accounts of failures of the state to provide social safety nets and such from people that I have met through the volunteer work that I do with Food Not Bombs, the unhoused, the working poor and stuff. There are several individuals that I consider friends. I've gotten the phone numbers of some that I've been corresponding with, and some of it's heartbreaking stuff that needs to be heard, because a lot of the times we talk very abstractly about the systems of capital that fail people, and the cycles of poverty that people get into. And I think it's important to hear specifically how those fall and how it is very, very difficult to dig yourself out, even if you have the will and ability to to do work and stuff. The system is stacked against you the moment you fall out of the system and end up on the street. So those things are coming up. Thanks for watching, and thanks to my Patreon supporters, Consuela and Pepper.